This winter I'm doing a series of videos on hats because it's cold and hats keep my head warm. In this video we're going to expand on the pattern we drafted in the beginner video, so if you haven't seen that one yet, go check it out. There's a link to the playlist in the description. The intermediate hat has a folded brim and some decreasing at the crown to make gathering it down easier. This takes a little bit more effort, but I like the way that it looks a lot better. Alright, let's get started. Let's draft the intermediate hat. We're going to start with the same basic rectangle that we used for the beginner hat. This distance is based on the circumference of your head, and this distance is based on the ear to ear measurement. And for me, that was 20 inches, and this was going to be 9.5 inches. We're going to be working with this Lion Brand Re-spun recycled polyester yarn. So let's get the gauge from this. This is going to be 5 stitches per inch and 6.5 rows. For the intermediate hat, we want a fold over brim, so we're going to add an extra inch onto the bottom of this. But we need to figure out how many rows we need to knit before we can fold up that hem and rehang it. So we're going to knit from the bottom up to an inch from where the bottom would have been if it didn't have a hem, and then fold this in half and rehang these stitches here. So we need to knit 2 inches for a 1-inch brim. That's going to be 13 rows for the brim before we can rehang those live stitches. This hat is going to be 100 stitches wide. That is 20 inches times 5 stitches per inch. So the main hat is 9.5 inches high, and then we add on this extra inch for the brim. It's going to be 10.5 inches, 68, let's call that 69 total rows. So what we're going to do is cast on 100 stitches, knit 13 rows, rehang the live stitches for the brim, and then keep knitting until we get to the 69 rows. And that will be our intermediate hat. I cast on 100 stitches onto waste yarn, and then I'm going to knit 13 rows. At this point, pull off the weights and using a transfer tool, rehang the live stitches. I have a separate tutorial on folded hems. There's a link in the description. Rehang the weights. The first row is going to be a bit of a struggle, but keep knitting until you only have 1 row left. When you get to the end, we're going to transfer every other stitch to the needle next to it. This will give us half of the stitches to work with when we're gathering the crown. Turn the tension all the way down to about half of where you were and knit 1 more row. Leave a long tail and then thread your yarn into the double-eyed tool and take the stitches off the bed onto the long tail. Here's our hat. Assembly is going to be the same as the beginner hat. Pull on the tail to gather up the crown, and then switch to a tapestry needle. Secure the tail in the other side and pull the crown all the way together. Secure the gathering with a few stitches. And then you're going to mattress stitch down the open edge. Here's the finished hat. Here's my hat, washed and blocked. You're not getting any outdoor shots today because it is pouring right now and it's cold, and this is a perfect situation for a hat. It's just not a good situation to photograph a hat. This looks a little more polished and professional than the absolute beginner hat, and the crown is a little more manageable to gather. I hope you found this tutorial useful. I've got a few more of these in the works, so subscribe to see the rest of the hats that I'm making this winter. Happy knitting! A little bit this way. My lighting sucks because it's raining and gross. Okay, that's better. And there's the lights right there.